Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Welcome into our second weekend of the Eastern Division here at the HyperX D2L Season 4. Ahead, a hell of a game. TongFu taking on Vici Gaming to lead off our three-series evening. And we'll be seeing those plates pop up here in just a second. There they are. That's right. Hashtag fire session. It's all good. Again, TongFu taking on Vici. Both of these teams have been in action already here in the D2L Season 4. And both already doing pretty well for themselves. There are some teams that are already beginning to occupy those lower spots in our standings. But TongFu and Vici, TongFu currently one of the leaders here in the D2L Season 4 early on. But keep in mind, it is such a short format. Every game matters so much in terms of what they're going to be able to, or how much time they're going to have to establish themselves. So taking a look at our teams, TongFu comes into this series really on a tear. TongFu has won 6 of their last 8 series across the month of October. However, one of those series was a loss to Vici Gaming in the Ace Dota League. So they're going to be looking for a little bit of revenge. Going to be led by Zoe in the carry position. XTT will be occupying the off lane with Mu in mid. ZSMJ, the support jungle, the reformed carry player, a living legend really in Chinese Dota, now trying to find his rhythm and his own identity playing out of that support jungle position. And Song Chang, a hard support player who has faced some criticism but has played well so far in the D2L. On the other side of the river, their opponents for the evening going to be Vici Gaming. There we are, led by Fenrir. Vici, again, currently sitting at 1-1. Obviously, they wish that was a 2-0, but ran into a bit of a hurdle early on, so sitting in 4th position at the moment. ROTK occupies the off lane with Super in mid. Super, of course, of a very experienced past, really a superstar mid player who knows how to make things happen all across the map. 2-2 in the carry position and FY on the hard support. And one thing Vici has shown us thus far in the D2L is just how good they are at adopting a Western playstyle. FY has run a phenomenal Wisp. In fact, we found out by our stats man last time around that FY is 6-0, was 6-0 coming into his performance on Wisp during our last play weekend, and now 7-0 after getting a very convincing win in that series. So looking ahead, Game 1, Vici Gaming taking on TongFu here at the D2L Season 4, brought to you by HyperX. I'm your host, Aaron A.C. Chambers. I'll be joined live, as always, by Merlini, bringing you the content and analysis. Game 1, the draft, coming your way in just a few minutes. Make sure you stick with us, guys. Got a long evening ahead of us. 2 more best of 3s following the conclusion of this one. Can't wait to get underway. Again, Game 1 on the way next.
10 seconds.
And we're live. Game 1, the draft underway. Vici Gaming taking on TongFu in a recent rematch of their head-to-head competition in the Ace Dota League. Now, I was talking a bit during the introduction that TongFu's really been on a tear throughout October. They played 8 matches and won 6 of them. However, the last time they lost was against Vici Gaming. Vici hung a 2-0 on them, in fact, in the early stages of the Ace Dota 2 League. So TongFu going to be looking for a little personal payback as well as a chance to increase their lead here in the early standings of the Eastern Division D2L Season 4. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers, joined live by Ben Merlini Wu. And Merlini, my friend, we're already starting to see the standings take a little bit of shape. This is just our second play weekend, but because each team only plays each other team one time, once you get 3 or 4 matches under your belt, you're pretty much halfway done, and TongFu going to be in action twice tonight. They're already beginning to put a dent in that schedule. Vici the same way. They've already got 2 matches under their belt, so a very important kind of a hump match ahead of them in the third time they've made their appearance. Looking at the early draft, we can see the Weaver and the Clockwork picked up by Vici, and of course Vici Troll Warlord picked up by TongFu. That early Clockwork pick, though, a little bit surprising. And it sounds like we're actually missing Ben at the moment. So,
hello. Sorry, my mic was still muted.
There we go.
My bad. Anyways, yeah, so there's, like, Clockwork's very unusual to be picked this early, unless you have some sort of, like, niche strat with him. But, I mean, he's pretty good in 3rd or 4th pick, but he's way more situational than before. Weaver, pretty solid pick. We actually saw Zoe play him last week, but it wasn't quite up to the team's full potential. He just split push a lot and died sometimes unnecessarily. I believe they won the game, but at the same time, you talked about each of these teams already playing a couple of matches in this league, but I still think it's going to take a few days, weeks, or matches just for them to show us really what they have. TongFu just seems a little bit out of place with Zoe in their lineup. It's often like 4 protect or like 4 people fighting on the other side of the map while Zoe just does his own thing. And Vici were struggling sometimes too. So I think this is a very good start for a proving grounds for both of these teams. See if they can come out on top of its Eastern Division.
Absolutely. TongFu going to show us the Spirit Breaker pickup to go with Troll Warlord. Was just going to mention, you see a Visage and a Troll. I mean, Visage, a phenomenal hero in his own right, can give you a lot in all stages of the game, but really does hit a peak right around the mid-game just because of his damage output. Once he hits level 6, gets the familiars up, he can fight, he can push, he can do a whole lot. Spirit Breaker now to go with Troll Warlord. Again, Troll, a hero where usually one item choice is going to dictate exactly how you want to play with him. If you want to play for a little bit more of a late-game approach to him, a little bit more of a farm-heavy approach, usually an early BKB, a solid choice, or you can go Shadow Blade and just say you want to fight. Seeing the Visage, the Troll, and now the Spirit Breaker, hard to tell exactly where that SB is going to be. He is one of those heroes that can do a lot, but a lot of teams generally have a lot of success running him out of the support role and playing him as simply a ganking, roaming sort of a hero. TongFu really showing us a lineup that's going to be able to pour it on early, but Vici grabbing the Kunkka, more than likely going to be a mid Kunkka. One would imagine, though, a farming Kunkka is not out of the question. But with the buffs that Kunkka received over the last few weeks, or last few patches, I should say, his ability to fight once he hits level 6, only a 60-second cooldown on Ghost Ship once he does hit level 6. It is really hard to play ultra aggressive into that hero so long as the enemy team's positioning and approach is appropriate.
Yeah, and the most unusual part about this draft is Kunkka being drafted 4th, as you just talked about. He's just been getting Ghost Ship buff after Ghost Ship buff after Ghost Ship buff. Though I think it does like 400 something damage at level 1, which is pretty insane if you can actually land it, which is a tough part. But Clockwork, pretty good initiate to set up for that. The more unusual thing about Kunkka being picked is that it's actually picked 4th. So Vici may pick an even stranger hero for the 5th pick. It could be something very simple like Shadow Demon, which TongFu already scouted out. You do kind of need a setup for Kunkka. Telekinesis a bit too little duration at level 1. It's like 1.5 seconds, and Torrent's just like under 2 seconds delay. Shadow Demon is the ideal lane partner, but let's see what they want to go for. They're really low on reserve time, so we'll see a pick come out within the next 15 seconds. Alchemist, pretty good pick by TongFu. Synergizes decently well with Troll Warlord. That minus armor for Roshan is really something to consider too. So Darkseer looks like it will be their standard Darkseer pick. You can't underestimate the vacuum torrent too, although that's much more difficult to execute.
Oh yeah, but the one thing I like so much about that is when you look at the heroes who are likely to cause problems. I mean, Visage obviously has his nuke in Soul Assumption. Alchemist, Troll, Warlord. Troll can switch back and forth between ranged and melee. Spirit Breaker, of course, even from the support position, even if he's not doing that much damage, just being able to get some bashes off usually can turn a fight. So you've got 3 heroes in the Troll, the Spirit Breaker, and the Alchemist that need to close distance and need to be in melee range to really blow up these heroes from Vici. Now you have the potential for a vacuum into Cogs for Clockwork. Now imagine catching 2 or 3 heroes, vacuuming them into Cogs after Clockwork hits a hook, then the ghost ship dropped right on their face while Vici bathes in Kunkka's rum and knows they're going to have that damage mitigation as well. Really, really cerebral drafting out of Vici, and I feel like TongFu is really going to be under the gun to take fights on their own terms. If they're unable to get the initiation advantage, I just feel like Vici Gaming has them beat in range, has them beat in synergy, and is going to have them beat in a lot of 5-on-5s if they don't really make use of Spirit Breaker's potential early.
Yeah, I think the most stressful part about TongFu's lineup is just getting to the phase where they can get BKBs, and most stressful part about Vici Gaming's lineup is just trying to keep TongFu under farm so they won't get their BKBs. If you look at their lineup, like, what do they really have versus BKBs? Sure, you can make Wall of Illusion replicas and, like, do a little bit of physical damage with Kunkka and Weaver, but if they just BKB mow people down with Spirit Breaker and Troll and Alchemist, if they want to put them in the safe lane, then Vici can't really do anything. So I'm very worried if it gets past like 25 minutes and Vici Gaming is not that much ahead. Their team fight is strong, but I think TongFu is just going to split push and gank and avoid 5-on-5s completely until they get their BKBs.
Yeah, I think you make a wonderful point. The idea that Alchemist, as you said, BKB hero, Troll, BKB, Spirit Breaker, if he does get a little bit ahead, even from the support position, will try to get up a BKB, much in the same vein as other support heroes like that are. Vici does have some damage output in the Weaver and the Kunkka, so I don't, their late game potential I don't feel like is completely negligible, especially, I mean, how many times have you seen a Kunkka just get way ahead, free farm a bit, and end up building crit and just end up blowing up entire teams with 1 or 2 swipes with his sword. But with the Windrunner pickup now, that gives them a little bit more lockdown. That's something I feel like they needed. They had the Visage Familiar stuns, Unstable Concoction, of course, Spirit Breakers, Charge, and Ulti, but Windrunner with 1 good shackle can turn this fight around, or turn any fight around. So a lot of, I totally agree with you, though. I feel like Vici is just going to have to make sure that they try to catch TongFu out, put the pressure on as frequently as they can, and not let them play that game style that you just said would serve them so well. Split pushing and ganking, which, of course, with the Spirit Breaker is always going to be a huge, huge liability when you're on the enemy team.
Windrunner is an interesting pickup here. I think a lot of teams would go for a much safer pick, such as Twin-Headed Dragon. I think just would be a very safe pick. You can counter push decently with it as a very good AoE lockdown, and it's just a much safer pick. But Windrunner is very interesting. ZSMJ is going to be put on it. I think that they want to have like more anti-push, Windrunner anti-push, and like you can't really just like go up and dual breath with THD. And I think they're going to be doing that a lot this game, just trying to delay pushes as long as possible with the acid spray as well. Zoz looks like he's going to be on the Alchemist, so it won't be a support one. They're just going to be trying to delay pushes as long as possible and just farm up as much as they can while Vici tries to 5-man early. I completely suspect that Vici will just move around S5 early FY, hopefully with his early mech. I mean, they're already moving it around S5 now.
Speaking of some stats, I was dropping some on you earlier. I'm sure these are going to continue to pop up as we can see a little history there between these two teams. Now has Dota on Lin to the D2L from his full-time work at Join Dota. I want to thank him for tuning in and being our stats man once again. Not sure if he'll be with us all evening, but whether or not he is or he isn't certainly brings a lot to our broadcast. So thanks to him, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it just as much. We can see the potential for some blood already taking place in the dire side jungle as TongFu is running a bit of an invasion force now. ROTK is up front with the rest of his team beginning to retreat back towards that middle lane. Looks like they have no interest in fighting, and really no surprise looking at the level 1 strength of TongFu's lineup. First point already put into charge from Spirit Breaker, so not going to get a chance to use that, at least not yet. And we'll keep an eye on this for a moment. As soon as both teams do decide to pull back permanently, we'll run through the lineups, though.
Well, ZSMJ was in a very precarious position right here. If he got telekinesis up here, he's almost certainly dead. He can either get cogged in or something. So I don't actually know why he was standing there, but it was a little dangerous. So TongFu is actually our favorites here, 62-38.
62% think TongFu's going to win. Let's look at the 5 players that lend them that support. Zoe, as we can see, running on the Alchemist, being pursued by FY. Looks like he should be able to make it back quite easily. We're going to have Visage handled by Sansheng crossing through middle lane as we speak. ZSMJ will be playing on the Windrunner. He's going to have a little bit of help here. Mu will be playing on the Troll Warlord, and the Spirit Breaker is actually going to be setting up shop along with the Windrunner here in this top lane. On the other side of the river, we're going to have ROTK playing on our Clockwork. We're going to have our Rubik handled by Fenrir. He's actually down here in an offensive tri-lane position. It would seem FY is currently kind of bouncing between bottom and mid. Super already taking a bit of damage from Mui here. He's on the Kunkka in mid. As mentioned, FY on the Darkseer who's just kind of passing through. And Tutu will be farming up our Weaver in this offensive position, trying to keep Zoe locked down and not allow this Alchemist any kind of a good start.
Super already forced to use his Flask of Metal. He doesn't have a Stout Shield, so he's can't really trade blows with Mu, who already has a Pro Man Shield and has a Tanko and Healing Salve pulled to him. On the bottom lane, I'm not actually sure why TongFu put Zoe solo on bottom, just because if you look at Vici's lineup, there's no way they're going to have nobody down there. And if it's solo Weaver, if it's solo Darkseer, if it's solo Clock, all those like pose like quite a threat to Zoe. Looks like it's actually a dual lane with Fenrir on the Rubik and Weaver, but looks like these two supports are going to rotate in and try and secure Zoe some farm. So TongFu looks like they're doing very well early game. Troll is dominating Super in mid as the Kunkka XDT getting
Fenrir in bottom in a lot of trouble. Will be our first blood. We saw the rotation coming, and they dropped the sentry. The Weaver will be able to Shikuchi back to safety. I actually didn't think they would end up getting that Rubik, but the follow-up coming out of the two supports, a well-placed power shot along to go with a Grave Chill to slow him down following the unstable concoction. First blood goes to TongFu, off to a great start. Talking about this top lane real quick, I love this decision. One, of course, to help out their Alchemist farming at bottom, but just guaranteeing XTT some solo farm and solo experience against ROTK. This is going to allow them to play that style you mentioned was going to be so essential to them dodging the strengths of TongFu, namely split push and gank.
Yeah, if TongFu wins the early game, I definitely think they're going to win this game. They, Vici on the other hand, if they win the early game, they still have the potential to lose just due to BKB and team fights. But with the early game going this way, all three lanes pretty much a victory for TongFu. I think they're off to a very great start. I'm actually confused as to why they just put two people on bottom. I don't know if they actually scouted out the rotation. They probably went through this way, and the ward only covers like this circle over here. So Rubik just completely caught off guard there, but he's actually going on top. XTT looks like he's going to be the target of choice. Darkseer very low on mana, though. Not even enough mana for Ion Shell plus Surge.
And looks
Good
like
ward, though.
Yep. XTT spotting it out courtesy of that ward. They were trying to get in position. Thought they might surge Fenrir, but not going to be the case. And to be honest, trying to gank a Spirit Breaker at this level is pretty damn tricky. He's going to have charge available to him. You know that. He's already level 3. Only needs 1 point. He certainly hasn't used it in that one-on-one matchup. So would have been a little bit chancy to even give it a shot. In the meantime, we can see this bottom lane has freed back up for Zoe. He is climbing his way back up in CS. He's now at 10 in comparison to the two tops on the board. The Clockwork handled by ROTK doing quite well for himself, sitting at top 17 CS for him. And the Dark Troll Warlord in mid, played by Mu. Really
TP rotation already, too.
Really dominating this Kunkka. So up at top, we'll see what if they can try to catch XTT out. Doesn't look like they want to let him continue to do what he's been doing so far.
Yeah, Mu seems to... I mean, Troll's a very strong mid, especially against melee heroes, and especially when they don't go Style Shield. I think Super is just, like, desperately trying to scramble for farm right now. Yeah, he has his bottle, but still only 9 CS compared to Mu's 20. On the top lane, I'm not exactly sure how they plan on killing Spirit Breaker. I'm not exactly sure as to the interactions between Cog and Charge. Like, if you charge out of Cogs, you get interrupted as you leave the Cogs. I'm not exactly sure, but hopefully we'll see that interaction sometime.
And here in mid, a little bit of a rotation. Never mind. ROTK looked like he was thinking about it instead of just ducking through. We can see that VG has just completely given up on this bottom lane and has instead rotated 2-2 up to top so he can find his farm. He's not in the best of shape, sitting at just 15. Not terribly in awful shape, but however, again, the big winner here is XTT. He has been under next to no pressure here in mid. Super in trouble. Will land a torrent. Here comes a rocket. Mu will take a little bit of damage in the meantime. Super able to bottle himself back up after coming very close to being our second death on the board.
Yeah. Oof. Pretty close. Super just force a bottle crow again. Nothing special going on in any of these lanes. ROTK has actually rotated bottom. He will scout out these supports. I'm surprised they didn't put this Observer Ward on top more into the opponent's jungle. They don't have sentries on them at the moment. Actually, Windrunner does, but they haven't been able to do anything on bottom. Vici just kind of forced to stay in this area because they don't really have any vision. Looks like we will see a gank attempt on ROTK right now.
Yep, came forward just a little too much. He will get the cogs down, but it's not going to matter. TongFu improves to 2-0, and this is really problematic. Again, VG's team, I love the way it looks in terms of 5-on-5 potential, but they're not going to even get that chance if they're not able to stay on par in items. Now in mid, there's a charge from the Spirit Breaker. Torrent buys a little bit of time, but XTT's there to clean it up with one last right click. 3-0, and VG has to be scrambling now to try and get themselves back into this game.
Things are just falling apart for them. I still don't know what their game plan was for early game. Zoe's going on ROTK right now again. Oh, a cog zones him out. But like if you look at their lane, they don't really have a strong triple lane. So that means Zoe's automatically going to be free farming on bottom if they devote at least 2 heroes there. And mid lane, Kunkka is not very good for Stroll, and they don't really have a good killing lineup for Spirit Breaker. So it's like a half greedy lineup from Vici. It's like decent team fight, like okay late game. But in terms of early game control, it's just very, very poor. And TongFu, that's the biggest weakness of their lineup. XCT will pick up a DD rune on top. He's almost level 6. Oh, no, he'll actually give it to Mu. But once he hits level 6, things are going to be looking very, very bad. They don't really need to charge ROTK. I think they just need to kill Super. And if he doesn't get farmed, then they don't really have to worry about that many other people. Weaver, even if he gets BKB, can just get bash blocked by Spirit Breaker as well as Troll. And if he doesn't, he's just going to get Unstable Concoction and just die.
We can see both teams giving a lot of emphasis to this mid lane now. They've both got 2 supports just kind of watching from the shadows as Super and Mu continue to trade blows. There is going to be one more rotation. Hang on, here comes the charge. There's the ghost ship as well. It will connect. And XTT now next. Nice shackle, catches a couple. Actually didn't catch Kunkka. Ended up catching FY and Super, but finally Vici gets on the board, and they do so in a good way. In the meantime, we can see 2-2 is getting some free farm up the top, much needed, putting some pressure on the tower as well, and they will go ahead and rotate without losing anything. So slowing down the Troll Warlord, a nice step in the right direction for Vici Gaming. And unfortunately, looks like we have a quick disconnect. Want to thank everyone once again, no matter what corner of the world you happen to call home. Good morning, evening, or afternoon. This is game 1 of our first series of the evening. TongFu taking on Vici Gaming. TongFu off to quite a good start. We can see the gold and experience leads, though, very close, and that's to be expected this early on. But do you feel like TongFu has really done enough early on? I mean, losing Mu there, obviously not the biggest deal, but I feel like they've had a really nice early game that once again puts a lot of pressure on Vici to execute in the next 10 to 15 minutes.
I definitely think so. I think that if it were 0-1 in favor of Vici right now, I still think TongFu would probably be ahead at this point in the game. Just considering the way the lanes are going. Will we see Zoe actually go for an early power treads instead of a greedy Midas and or Battle Fury? He knows, as well as the rest of the team, all they need to do is just get past this early game, and everything will start to come together at the 15 to 20 minute mark. And Vici feels the pressure. You can see them already using one of their smokes to gank mid. It's an unoccupied lane right now, but they know that they have to kill Zoe. They have to kill the Spirit Breaker, keep them under leveled. They have to kill Troll Warlord, but they're not really getting any of those casts accomplished aside from one kill. Mu already has a DD on top. He's looking for blood, checking for stacks, but it'll just be a lone Centaur camp for him.
Yeah, Mu with phase up and his poor man shield.
The charge down here.
ROTK looks to be the target. We see him moving across the mini-map with the greatest of haste. He's going to...
Yeah, he's coming from the trees, too, so ROTK might not have enough time to react. Oh, he's actually on the right side now. Very smart. Oh,
there we go.
Didn't even get the cogs off.
Does connect. He is level 6, and he will go ahead and use the ulti. Tons of spam. Gives them everything they need to get another kill under their belt. And really, I mean... This is what we knew they were going to try to do. The question I was going to ask, and that I think is going to tell us a lot about how much emphasis TongFu is going to put on early action, is just how they decide to build this Troll. He's already got up his phase, his poor man's. Is he going to want to go with an early BKB or perhaps an early fighting item like a Shadow Blade?
I say Vlad's with BKB is probably the best. They need 5-on-5 items, not necessarily split pushing gank items. They already can split push pretty effectively as is, and they can just push very effectively. So I think, and they can do Roshan if they ever win a lineup. And if they get Roshan in the first 20 minutes, I don't really see them losing this. Zoe just farming up in the meantime, though. Checking everyone else's items seems pretty reasonable. On the bottom part, ROTK was just really unfortunate with that charge. He was standing on the left side, so if Spirit Breaker comes through the trees, he can't actually cog in time. So he was moving over to the right, and I was like, okay, he'll have like a second to cogs. But the chicken was actually over here. He wanted to bottle Crow, and he was busy microing, didn't get the cogs off, and unfortunately, that was his demise. I don't even know if he would have survived. Had he gotten the cogs off, he probably would have to use like a defensive hook shot, but that really depends on where the creeps are. So it was still a very low probability for him. But ROTK 0-2-0, things are not looking for him because he's a really big playmaker on this team. He needs to set up vacuums into cogs. He needs to set up hook shot into torrents and boats with cogs too. He's really the playmaker for this team. And if he gets behind and is forced to play passively and can't find any kills, they're not going to get back in.
ROTK leading the smoke gank, moving through. He is level 7, so has a hook on demand. Super again, level 8, that early ghost ship. He is very, very hungry, though. Just a set of phase and a gauntlet of strength to go with a wand and a bottle. And his CS has not been what he would like it to be. 29 CS, all he's been able to notch so far. They are going to go ahead and just abandon the idea of going in the front door. It looks like they're going to think about coming in the back if they want to try to dive this. However, TongFu seems to have sniffed this out. They're already moving some personnel.
TongFu has great awareness right here, though.
Up Troll, going to be the one who spots it. There we go. The hook goes off. Here comes the charge. It's going to be on Fenrir. In the meantime, Ghost Ship coming in. Moves there. Down very low. Wall goes down as well. Move will end up being cleaned up. The re-engagement now as Alchemist cleans up ROTK. We'll be able to chase him away. One last right click brings him down. There's the ulti used to knock back Fenrir. He has to turn around. However, Vici with enough damage to help win this fight. We see a buyback coming out of the Troll Warlord. Visage Familiar staying on Fenrir, looking for a kill. Will not be able to get it as a Tidebringer coming out from Super knocks the Familiar down for a little bit of bonus gold. Big turnaround and exactly what Vici needed, Merlini. They cut the score to 4-5.
Yeah, that was exactly what they needed. Now they're right back on track. After that, all their deaths in the early game, it doesn't really matter that much. And this is a pretty decent lead for them. They actually got like kind of 4 deaths. Only 3 people died, but Troll used buyback, and that will delay whatever items he's going for. It looks like he's going for early phase, but only 500 gold. BKB, Shadowblade, none of those will come anytime soon. Alchemist actually died in the process too. So I think all of the important heroes on the side of TongFu besides Spiritbreaker, and most importantly, it gave him levels. Rubik just sitting at level 6. I think he was level 4 before that fight.
Yep.
And even Kunkka with just phase boost, still doing immense amounts of damage. Darkseer also very notably picked up wall very early. He had a wall in that fight. I think he was probably level 7. So I think it was a very good decision by him because once the clockwork was over here, the wall was over here, their whole team was over here, and they kind of had to traverse it if they wanted to hit those fluffy supports. And this is one of the problems with like 3 melee core lineup.
We got a charge coming out from XTT, looking to squish a bug. Going to be coming through the woods. San Sheng and Zoe are there. They're going to go for it. Shikuchi's there. They're going to chase him back. The immediate reaction, though, the dust goes off. Ulti as well. Fenrir lands in. The meantime, time-lapse brings him back, but he will be blown up. Fenrir's there by himself now. He stole Soul Assumption, but not nearly enough damage. Not as much as San Sheng, anyway. Make it 2-0 the trade. They're going to try to re-engage. X marks the spot. Ghost Ship will connect with Zoe. Now another TPN. They want to clean up the big boy. Alchemist in some trouble. Gets a little damage done before he drops, but does end up dropping nonetheless. So VG loses a bit, but they end up bringing down the Alchemist in exchange. In the meantime, though, ZSMJ and Moo are pushing this mid tower. He's going to pop the ulti, and mid does drop. They're trying to rotate out now. ROTK has a hook if he wants to go for one last bit of initiation. Song Sheng is under an invis rune, so not going to be spotted even by proximity. It looks like they will be able to pull back. So TongFu losing that fight near the Radiant side secret shop, nonetheless gets some work done on top and in mid.
Vici can't keep losing towers, though. They lost 1 T1 in bottom, 1 T1 in mid, and without those 2 towers, they can't really keep the pressure up. It's very obvious if like the lanes are pushed up to like right here and right here that Vici's out and about ganking somewhere. And just give TongFu a lot more information because they just need to minimize this. Looks like Zoe or Tutu might die again here on top.
Another charge, XDT with the ulti off cooldown. Great follow-up from Alchemist. Never had a chance. Fenrir's there with a telekinesis, but not a whole lot he can do by himself. They've got the whole team rotating to this top lane, wanting to take complete map control with yet another tower kill following the kill on Weaver. And look at that, San Sheng getting up a couple of free familiars, or new familiars, I should say. And they're actually going to pull back. Little surprising. Looks like they wanted to push off of that, but for the moment, instead deciding to rotate elsewhere. They are going as a group. Will be a BKB first pickup on Moo, by the way. He has picked up his Ochre Club. Zoe, in the meantime, working on that Shadow Blade with the Shadow Amulet already done. And right now, TongFu's just sitting pretty, man. Even Mech is underway for ZSMJ at this point.
There's no need for them to force issues. Like, if you notice, they don't ever try and force 5-on-5 if they have, like, Vici brings it to them. Notice right now, and their smoking is all up in the opponent's territory. And TongFu, again, they don't have to pick fights. All they have to do is just like gank people now and then. And Weaver with his free farm, he's 1-2-1. He was just free farm top versus Spiritbreaker, but it's not that much of an issue. Like, he's not going to get like a 10-minute Lincolns unless he just farms incredibly and gets first blood and a tower. And if he doesn't have Lincolns, he's just going to constantly just die to charge +1 and troll ultimate. They're doing a very good job of splitting their heroes up pretty effectively. Just a couple heroes devoted to gank, while a couple push towers and or farm, and they'll like pick fights if they have to, like if their T1's under fire, or if they like bring it to them in between their T1 and their T2. But for the most part, TongFu is just looking for very smart fights. Good deny by the Visage familiars there.
Visage getting the deny off. We see the Shadow Blade is not on the Alchemist now, and that's going to up their fight potential quite a bit. ZSMJ will be able to buy his buckler soon for that mechanism. Only a few hundred gold off of that. XTT is actually looking to most likely. At this point, it's hard to decide what he's going to build. He's got the belt of strength to go with it right now, but he's also got an ogre club, so he's got some options in terms of what he wants to build with those items. One would imagine it'll be a simple treads VKB, but still always nice to know that the options are open. ZSMJ will go ahead and hit us with a pause. So we're at 15 minutes in here, Merlini. Give me the breakdown, a quick look back over the last 15 minutes. Tell me what stands out for you and where you think TongFu has really earned this lead.
I think it's mostly just Vici did not have a solution for bottom lane at all. They just let Alchemist get way too much. ROTK as well as the Rubik died a couple of times down there, and none of that should have happened. They didn't really go in with a good game plan, and TongFu just had a much better strategy, and they had greedier lanes too. They have like a melee carry in each of the 3 lanes, and Vici just doesn't have enough resources to split up and keep all of them down. They didn't really keep any of them down, to be honest, aside from Troll, but most of that was from the buyback early. Vici really trying to put pressure on. They're always trying to pick fights, but they don't want to dive into the T1 tower because they know if they lose a fight like 0-4, 0-5, that probably means another tower, Roshan soon to follow after, and just a complete loss on the lead of the game. So they're forced to play passively for the moment, look for good fights. Looks like ROTK is trying to get a hookshot on somebody, but Mu will probably luck out with an invisibility rune. They have their mech up right now, so if they want to pick a 5-on-5, they have to do it very, very soon. Troll Warlord over halfway to his BKB. Shadow Blade already up on Alchemist. The items are kicking in for TongFu, and Vici, they have like a Shadow Blade coming soon on Kunkka, but there's no way he's going to be able to keep up with the farm on Zoe.
Hook on the move. There's the cogs go down as well. Uses the invis, and here comes the counter initiation charge. He will be vacuumed back and cleaned up, and XDT's ready to fight. Connects with FY. Here comes the unstable concoction on the Finn rear. ROTK comes in to help. Ghost Ship should connect and misses, actually. XDT blew the ulti. He's going to end up dropping next. Power shot and a little bit of Visage damage from Soul Assumption helps. Nice X marks the spot to secure another kill. Mu re-engaging once again. ROTK gets the cogs down. 2-2 will end up dropping. Multi-kill going the way of San Sheng and retreating along the side. That's FY. So VG, even though they got the drop on Mu, ended up hanging around a little too long. TongFu with good rotations, good response, adds a couple more kills to their total, make it 11-7 as they continue to build on this lead. Now up to nearly 4,000 gold in favor of TongFu. The experience has actually been in favor of VG, but now getting very close to that 0 Meridian line.
ZSMJ had a really nice shackle on these 2 heroes. I didn't think it was going to latch to both heroes. I thought it was going to latch the hero to a tree, but very nice execution by him. Also, TongFu has just been doing an excellent job of bursting down Weaver. Just one stun, or maybe like a charge plus another strike is enough to kill him. We saw Zoe hold his unstable concoction until like 3 seconds or so. He could have easily killed the clockwork with it, but he knew that his teammate would be able to finish him off. He just cast it on Weaver and he died. He was on Agi treads at the time. He really needs more HP. I think this is a time where you just go strength treads, you go drums, you go wand. He needs as much HP as possible. He's just dying nonstop in these fights, and Kunkka isn't going to be able to carry. He's 3-1 right now, just Phase and Shadow Blade, but he needs some more backup. How is a Kunkka going to carry versus an Alchemist, versus a Troll, and a Spirit Breaker?
You take a look at the net worth, you can see the Kunkka's actually in pretty good range of the Alchemist, given the Alchemist did just go with a 1-1 max greed kind of a build. Zoe has been farming relatively well. He's on top of net worth, but right now is when Kunkka really needs to matter. We can see he is doing some good damage. We've seen some good plays coming out from Super as well, some good X marks the spot, some good boats. Last one was all right. It caught some of the teammates, but didn't really do any damage. But nonetheless, here in mid, they are going to try to push, and not a whole lot of concerted response. San Sheng kind of the furthest forward with ZSMJ and Mu both hanging back. They know it's a 5-man here in mid. And looks like they're just
micro there. He actually lost one of his gargoyles and doesn't have it up for 1 minute. He was trying to stun, but he didn't get it off in time. And he's going to lose almost both. Yep, he lost both of his gargoyles already. It's very bad.
There goes the unstable concoction. There was a charge on Super that was canceled, so XTT thinking better of it. Mech done on the Windrunner. Here we go. Super going to get off a torrent. Not going to hit anything, though. way off the mark. Zoe goes under cover of a Shadow Blade of his own.
He tried to cast X. I saw him raising his arms to cast it, but he actually canceled it and cast his turret. I think that was on mistake, though. I think Super definitely wanted to initiate there so they would get a tower. Plus, they still have the mech, whereas TongFu doesn't have one. Oh, actually, Windrunner already has one. How is he so farmed? He's like as farmed as... he's more farmed than FY.
The Windrunner's 2-0 right now, so has been getting some gold kill, or some kill gold, as well as some nice experience. But yeah, finish it up just right before that engagement. Darkseer, of course, much quicker to his mech, but looks like he's still looking for a Force Staff. He's picked up a Staff of Wizardry. And VG, again, I feel a bit under the gun. Mu is hiding out down here. He's just short of level 12. He just about has enough to buy his Mithril Hammer at the moment. So that BKB is coming on.
Oh, they find Mu. Mu doesn't have a TP scroll. They shot a rocket in the back.
Here comes the charge to reinitiate. 2-2 will end up beating it. Down go the cogs, and they dust as well. Time lapse gets 2-2 out of trouble. Now the reinitiation. Torrent's there. Here comes the ship. Ship will be dodged, but does drench VG in the rum. Fenrir eats a bit of damage. Here comes our OTK back forward. Power shot on the mark. Does damage to 5. VG decides to go ahead and pull back. They did manage to kill off the Visage. And TongFu not willing to give up the ghost. This tower is going to end up dropping for sure. Mu and XTT moving through the jungle. Here comes Alchemist. Unstable Concoction is charging. Cogs go down. Gonna toss it out onto 2-2. Fenrir is low held. 2-2 blown up. Power shot on the mark from ZSMJ. Makes himself 3-0. And Super going nowhere as he eats the ulti from XTT. And wow, they actually have no more detection. I thought they had another dust. They do. It's on cooldown. So Super will be able to TP away under cover of the Shadow Blade. I knew he had more dust, but the cooldown a little bit too long. So they end up dodging, losing one there.
Yep. Well, Weaver just got bursted down again. The thing about that fight, Clockwork misses hookshot. He mixed the hookshot on Troll as he was running this way, and instead they got a Visage, but you really want to get the Troll. He, I think, has his Mithril Hammer right now, so we're talking about 1,000 gold into a BKB. That's with 2 buybacks. That's with him starting off 0-3. He's still 0-3. And Zoe almost has his Hammer too, so Vici, they are like winning fights like minorly, and they're taking down towers, but I don't think it's enough. You have to win fights like by a very good margin, like a 4-2, 3-1, things like that. And it looks like Fenrir is charging somebody right now, but there are a lot of heroes. Another missed hook shot by ROTK. He has to stop missing these.
Zoe eats the charge. Fenrir gonna telekinesis, has some help. Shackle will lash. Here comes the boat again. Zoe's gonna be the target. He will eat the full damage. Mech'd up by ZSMJ. Still not enough to keep him alive. And we'll see if they want to reinitiate. Doesn't look like they're that interested, and rightfully so. XTT will go ahead and charge away, while TongFu, both the rest of their heroes withdraw back to the tier 2. So even with another missed hook, Fenrir stuck with the charge and managed to get a high priority kill, bringing down that Alchemist.
Very smart by Zoe. If you look at his inventory, he just bought the Mithril Hammer right before he died. So he had like 16, 17 gold. I was looking at his inventory. Looks like Vici may get Roshan though. So still pretty close game, 12-9 in favor of TongFu. It looks like TongFu is like right about to run away with the game, and then Vici does something really, really smart with a 5-man engagement with a charge initiated by Fenrir into a Roshan attempt. They're like very close to losing their lead into a unreachable place, but they're playing very smart right now, having very effective smoke ganks and just 5-man roaming around in general.
I agree with you though regarding ROTK. They're just going to have to get more mileage out of him. He is really not having the impact you need a Clockwork to have, and he's not terribly under-leveled, not terribly over-leveled. He's sitting at level 10, so not as if he has a big level deficit. He will have his level 2 hookup before terribly long, so that'll certainly help. They're going to look to make something happen here as they move through under a 5-man smoke, dancing around the side of the river.
It's on ROTK. Is he going to find the initiate here? TongFu knows that something's up. They're playing very defensive right now, but they didn't actually see the smoke. 2-2 will pop it out, and they know. They know.
Here we go. The SMJ caught with X marks the spot in Torrent,
and
the hook onto him. Here comes XCT to reinitiate. Caught too with that. Here comes the boat. Bo will connect on CSMJ. Fenrir and Gayshawn in the river. And CSMJ vacuum back move with the BKB being shown off. FY forced the surge away. Zoe's right behind him, and they do get the kill with the acid. In the meantime, ROTK has to head north. Super making his way down towards the Roche pit. Another win for TongFu as they really got a nice initiation coming out of XTT, able to catch 2 with that charge and really bottle them up and allow them to fight an AoE-centric kind of a fight there. Roche will now be the target. There's 2 hanging around, 2-2 spot Sansheng. Sansheng did pick himself up a gem, so makes it much harder for Weaver to be effective and much harder for Super to be sneaky. Here we go, charge, canceled out. Super will be caught. with that. And here's the gem showing itself and pretty much paying for itself that time, as that should be a free Roshan.
It's not over yet. Fenrir and RTK are around the pit. They're like 5 strong right now, but he feared the heroes are around half HP. I don't think they can do Roshan, not without lifesteal. Tutu, that's his last Shikuchi for now. This fight over here, ZSMJ really played well there. Sure, he was the only hero that died, but that's not important. He got a 2-hero shackle over here that led to the 2-hero charge by XTT, and he also drew a lot of fire from them. He got trapped in the cogs, he tanked the hook shot, he was the only hero that got torn and booted, he got his mech off in time, so even though he died, he still contributed so much to that team fight. And he's already back in there, they have the mech, there's a clockwork for Vision, they have to do something very quickly.
Here we go, they're gonna come out, and the charge, Fenrir blown up, never had a chance. Beautiful vacuum though, TongFu locked inside the cogs. Do they have the firepower to knock him down? Doesn't look like they do. Ghost Ship will be thrown, will not connect. Spirit Breaker does drop. In the meantime, Moose, the SMJ, and Songqing are regrouping to rejoin with this Alchemist. Wall goes down, but Zoe's not done. Chasing down Super, Tutu has a beat on him though. And walking through the wall multiple times. Rubik's the one that's down right now. This fight spread out across Roche and this middle lane. There's an X marks the spot. And will be caught with the torrent. Can they blow him up fast enough? And there's the charge. Catching 3 of the 4 standing around. He will end up dropping. Now they want to reinitiate. Tutu blown up. ROTK cogs himself in with the Alchemist. Vacuums them out. ZSMJ and the Visage Familiars helping to clean him up. Super in the meantime adds another kill to his total. And Super, FY, and Fenrir regrouping now on their side of the river. A lot of action taking place here in the river around this Roshan. Roche still has not dropped. He's sitting at just 2,500 HP if they want to take a shot at it.
It's a very interesting fight from both people's perspective. Vici, they have to throw everything that they have to win this fight. And TongFu know if they win this fight and they get the Roshan, they can probably win the game. So both teams are just so under the gun right now. It's incredible.
Windrunner really benefiting a lot from the extra level she's picked up in these fights. Hang on, there's an X marks the spot. Super will be charged. Zoe's on his tail as well. And can they catch him? Looks like they're going to engage behind it. Tutu did not end up getting caught with the shackle. The charge is still coming. And he's going to go, no, thought about it. Turned around at the last second. In the meantime, Fenrir in trouble here in the river. Will eat one last axe in the back as Troll Warlord notches another kill to his belt. Here we go. Another engagement. Alchemist heading out with Unstable Concoction. Will pop it on FY. Can they follow it up? ZSMJ's right behind him. Power shot with the shackle. Shackle buys just enough time. And now Tutu caught with the ulti. That gem paying for itself again. And that will be a free Roshan as we see the Darkseer and the Weaver both down for more than 30 seconds.
I think this just solidifies TongFu's lead right now. I think at this point, they're very comfortable with the lead. All their BKB should come in right now. They already have it on Troll Warlord. Alchemist is just 300 gold away. That was the fight that they were looking for. That was definitely the turning point in the game. And you can see Vici like slowly losing their lead, but it wasn't like out of their reach. With this fight, with that many buybacks on the side of Vici, with Weaver dying, buying back, dying again, and TongFu getting the Aegis and not really taking that big of losses, this should probably seal the deal for that. It's not GG per se, because TongFu can still make mistakes, but Vici is definitely just like shaking their heads right now. What are we going to do versus BKBs right now?
4 staff done on ZSMJ. Some items beginning to come out on both sides. And yeah, FY still just hanging on to that naked staff of wizardry. But as you mentioned, 22-13 right now. You take a look at the gold graph. We're getting near 5 digits. Not quite 10,000, closer to 7,500, but certainly heading upwards in a very, very steep arc. And this is one of those situations, as you mentioned. VG is just in that very uncomfortable place where they have to hope the enemy makes mistakes, because if TongFu does nothing but play stable from here on out, their late game is better. They're going to be able to push and fight more effectively. They have better initiation. They have the vision they need with the Visage already at level 12 with a gem. He's fairly tanky, sitting at 1,300 HP. So, I mean, basically put it in perspective. Songqing has as much HP as the Troll does. Yeah, I think they're doing very smart item choices too. Like a Visage with like small items like Treads and Urn instead of saving it for something big like a Scepter. Alchemist not going for Midas or a Battle Fury, instead just going for Treads and Shadowblade fighting items. We see Troll Warlord also not going for Midas, even though he had a really easy time in mid. He has Phase, BKB, and Vlad. They're all going just like items that they know can boost them into the 30-minute phase of the game. And that's the thing about TongFu's lane. It's just much easier to execute. They're really not going to lose unless Vici manages to shut down all 3 of their lanes
and force tons of 5v5s in like the 10 to 20 minute phase of the game. And TongFu just played it very well, I think. Just given the draft, not playing greedy, defending fights, taking fights when they need to, and not over farming. So kudos to them to executing this sort of strategy. Looks like they're in pretty comfortable control of the game. I also thought the gem pickup by Vici very, very smart because they got like 2 pickoffs and they secured Roshan with that gem.
You can see the tier 2 top, not even going to be contested. VG knowing coming out would be nothing but would require a death wish, basically. Super, in the meantime, trying desperately to farm his way back into relevancy. He is doing some damage with that Crystallis in his inventory, but just not enough, especially with Mu having a DD. And so, beginning to feel very tanky. Moves up to the high ground, has his BKB ready. Unstable Concoction will be spent, and the BKB pop. ROTK engages out. There's the Vicious Familiar, and they're going to fight it out. Mu with his own BKB up. Here comes Fenrir. He stole Unstable Concoction, looking for some target. And not going to find it as they do manage to pull back in time to avoid the reprisal of VG. However, VG now fighting 4-on-5 as they did lose ROTK without a single hook shot. Zoe with the ulti back up in 40. Moves back up and will lead the way. There's going to be an X and a Torrent. The damage just isn't there, though. And beautiful shackle. Caught 2 of them. Unable to follow it up. The wall goes down, and that might confound things a little bit longer as the SMJ has mech available in 15 if they want to keep this siege up. And looks like they are just going to go ahead and head elsewhere. XTT going to charge down to mid. Actually, thought he was heading to bottom, but looks like they're just not feeling it at the moment. Their inventory is stacked. Their lead is big, now 5 digits in excess of 10,000, coming up on 12. But VG, for now, keeps the pulse going, man. They're still alive.
Mm-hmm. And TongFu knows that they can't really lose this game unless they make mistakes themselves, which is overextending. ROTK was right about the respawn. Speaking of ROTK, he needs to have a bigger impact in this game. He's 2-7-9 as like your 3 position. Compare that to Sansheng, 10, 2, and 10 on the Visage. Or ZSMJ, only 1 death. ROTK, yeah, sure, he's their main initiator, but they really have to get more kills on him, and he's been involved in 11 of 13 kills, but they need to be sitting at like 20, 25 kills at this point in the game, not 13.
Zoe will be dusted out on bottom. They're going to charge to try and bail him out. ROTK being blown to bits by Zoe. Now Super going toe-to-toe. Here comes the charge. FY will be the target. Got both of them. They're going to hook in. No cogs, though. The mech's there. Spirit Breaker blows the ulti. In the meantime, they end up cleaning 2 up as the rest react in time. They lose Kunkka, they lose Darkseer, and they're about to lose their last remaining outer tier tower as they charge him out.
ROTK dead too.
Yep, they do manage to catch him. The burst damage that comes out of nothing but Power Shot, Soul Assumption, and Unstable Concoction is enough to blow up just about anyone on VG. Yep, they're going to call it. 32 minutes,
Look
man.
at that BKB, though. Yeah, he was 1v3. He was trapped in the cogs with 3 heroes beating on him, but it doesn't matter. 1 BKB just completely changes the game around. Vici were just under the gun too much. They had too much pressure on them the whole entire game. Just forced to make something happen, and you don't really want to go in a game with that sort of lineup, especially for something like TongFu. So I think the draft was very good by TongFu. Execution a little bit poor by Vici, especially in the early game. They have to have a solution for Alchemist, whether it's winning your other 2 lanes very, very heavily, whether it's having a free farmer, unlike Weaver, who can actually do something in that sort of situation. But regardless, Vici will go into game 2 at a 0-1 deficit.
Vici Gaming just unable to really get that 5-on-5 potential going. They had a great draft for it, but I mean, we did see them put it together once or twice. They would walk away with some decent wins, but in the end, TongFu just 1 step ahead and able to dictate the pace of the game to the tune of a 1-0 lead here in our first series of the evening. 26-13, the final kill score, 32 minutes, 15 seconds, the official game time. Looking ahead to game number 2, guys, TongFu and VG. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers, joined by Merlini, who is remoting in. We're live here on the floor of our downtown San Francisco office. And again, we've got 3 best of 3s for you to look forward to today. This is just the first one. I know it's late for all of you fine folks out in Europe, but hey, NA Dota, some NA Dota fans actually get to watch some decent primetime Dota games. Nonetheless, the Eastern Division rolls on here in our second play weekend. Again, VG needs to knot it up. TongFu wants to improve their standings and maintain a stranglehold on that first position in the Eastern Division. We'll be right back. Game 2 between these 2 teams are on the HyperX D2L coming up next.